so glad that this series exists, and I wish more people would read it. Hello, welcome to Sound and Fury Book Reviews. As usual, I am Tina. Today I am doing a book review of Fault Tolerance by Valerie Valdez. This is a space opera book. It's part 3 of a trilogy, and it's coming out in August of 2022 by Harper Voyager. There's 3 things you need to know about this book before getting into this review. The first is that, as I mentioned, it is part 3 of a trilogy. So while there won't be any spoilers for book 3, there will be spoilers for books 1 and 2, which I highly recommend you read if you enjoy space opera with humor, allusions to popular cultural sci-fi, and lots of diversity. It's diverse in that the main character is proudly Latina. There are many other cultures present in the story. There's a trans woman secondary character and other LGBTQ plus representation. It's a lot of fun. It's a great book. The first book is, I have it. I mentioned it before and I've reviewed it before. Chilling Effect. And the covers are all like this. They're all really pretty. So that is the first thing you need to know before watching this review. Second, I received this book as an ARC from NetGalley in exchange for a fair review. Thank you so much to the publisher for the e-ARC. I was so excited that she approved me, and I was very excited to read it. Third, this is the 5th book in the May the Force Be With You readathon, which makes me a Dark Lord of the Sith. I am killing it now, and yeah, so be prepared for my total takeover of the universe. Yeah, so that being said, back to Fault Tolerance. I loved this book. It like literally just killed me. So I read it very quickly. One, because I was sick, and as you can tell, I have a bit of a head cold, and I was literally lying in bed every night after putting my kids to bed for the last 3 days, so I had a lot of time to read because I couldn't sleep because I was coughing too much. Anyway, this was the best thing for it, though, because I could distract myself with an amazing book. I read it very quickly because I could not put it down. It follows a similar structure to the other 2 books. We have an overarching plot with small subplot diversions to get to that point, which most books do, and there's a big old fight at the end. Fault Tolerance overall is an adrenaline-fueled finale to a fantastic series. It balances action, emotion, and humor to give you a story with such great characters that will make your eyeballs fall off from compulsive reading. So here's what it's about. Nothing wrecks Captain Ava Inasante's vacation plans quite like an anonymous threat to vaporize billions of people. Hundreds of monoliths have suddenly materialized in space, broadcasting the same looped message: surrender or be exterminated. Is the universe being epically spammed? Surrender to whom? Exterminated when? And how is Ava, commander of a beat-up cargo ship, supposed to prevent it? As panic spreads, a mystery message sends Ava to find answers in a system that hasn't been explored in all of recorded history. With the crew of La Serena Negra, a score of psychic cats, a feline-phobic robot, and a super weapon she has no clue how to use, Ava prepares to battle the unknown. But first she has to defeat the known, mercenary Tito Santiago, whose idea of a clean fight is a shower before kill time. His mission is to ensure Ava doesn't succeed as hers. If anything goes wrong, the universe is doomed. But if everything goes according to Ava's plans, wait, when has that ever happened? The characters, as usual, are the core of the story, and they are a lot of fun. Ava is the same person as in the first 2 books, but she's wiser and more aware of her crew's feelings. She's had to learn to be this way, and she really has grown in that regard. Her relationship with Vakar is so incredibly cute. I love the respect and love they have for one another, but also the trust there. Normally, I'm a shipping a new couple type of reader, but I was 100% on board for Ava and Vakar moments. I wanted more. And their relationship is one of my favorites of like the last few years in reading, and so I was so happy that we got a lot of that in this book. I also enjoy the realism between how Ava and Mari felt for one another. The love is there, but it's buried under betrayal and clashing personalities. As much as I'd like to say I'm like Ava, I'm definitely more like Mari. She always wanted to explore ancient places and discover things and write super boring essays about them. I totally feel that. That's something I would love to do. And yes, this is an ARC, so that line might change or disappear in the final printing, just so you know, but I really liked that line. It was really fun. There are so many good lines in this book. I must have highlighted at least like 20 in my e-copy. There's also a couple new characters who, like Stu and Min, don't take up a lot of page time, but are endearing nonetheless and have, fleshed out personalities. You understood their motivations. There aren't any characters in the novel whom I didn't like, or at least don't find interesting. I mean, nobody likes Miles, but he's fun to not like. You could say that the series has a small universe problem, which is when the same people are always showing up for the major events, as improbable as that seems. But I would disagree when it comes to this book. The arrival of some already known characters help propel the story along faster, as we already know or have issue with these people, so we don't need to learn all about them and get a bunch of info dumps or whatever. It's more of a running joke too. This isn't a serious novel like like a I don't know like Hyperion or something, so it worked really well for the story. Speaking of the jokes, this book is so damn funny. Well, it's not as funny as, say, Stringers or Escape First Contact. There are some really humorous moments and just really kind of silly allusions to stuff that aren't even sci-fi related. There's a chapter called Sniper No Sniping, which I found absolutely hilarious as a parent who has watched a lot of Dora the Explorer recently. I have a 2-year-old as well as a 4-year-old, so Dora has been a part of my life for quite a few years. Uh, there's also a hilarious riff on the cliche, I let out the breath I didn't know I was holding, that made me absolutely die, because as an editor, I come across that repeated line so much. So it was so fun to see kind of a joke made at that line's expense. If you're a writer, don't use that line, please. Please don't. And there's references to movies like Terminator 2. The thing is, you don't have to get these references to understand what's happening in the story. They don't have to mean anything to you. If you pick up on them, fine. There's probably a whole bunch that I just went over my head or I just didn't pick up on, and that's fine, because that's kind of the fun thing about this book, is that it doesn't require you to understand these allusions to understand the story. In book 2, the main pop culture reference was clearly Pokemon, and this one it's Transformers with a bit of Power Rangers, or perhaps it's something else. But those were like what it felt like to me. I mean, mecha is a spans a lot of stuff, so it could be any kind of mecha, really. Mecha is a common sci-fi trope, and so Valdez manages to use that and still craft her own awesome story around that concept. It was very fun, and I very much enjoyed it. The novel whole thing ends with like a joke line that I super appreciated and I thought was great. The battle scenes, as usual, are exceptionally fun and easy to see. They use a mix of, weaponry, evasion, spaceships, new technology, and good old-fashioned punching in the face. Everything in the novel is well described, but it's definitely not a hard sci-fi. We're not over inundated with technological explanations, which works for me. The stakes in the novel also felt real. As much as, say, the universe plots aren't always my favorite to read, this one works so well as it was built from the other 2 novels, and it made sense why Ava was involved. She also takes the time to lament on her possible death, as she's still just a fairly normal person in unusual circumstances. Those aspects of the story gave the story heart and an emotional core that felt true to the series and not hyperbolic or dramatic. It worked. I was just like, oh, I hope nobody dies. I love all the characters. Overall, the only thing I'm sad about is that it is over. I loved this trilogy to absolute bits and will definitely be buying a physical copy. I'm so glad that this series exists, and I wish more people would read it. Yeah, so thank you again to the publisher and the author for helping me get an e-arc. I very much appreciate it, and yeah, thanks for watching.